Hello and welcome to today's League of Legends esports video. As you can see by the title, this is not a roundup. There was no big signings today in the major regions to talk about, so we have to fill today's video. And as you can see, and by the title, NA prospects, the top players that I see in amateur or for in some cases academy that are younger, that have potential. Based off of stats and stats alone, I have not watched many of these players play at all, outside of the occasional, Champions Q game, watching streams. I watched Double Lift stream a lot when he was playing Champions Q. So, I feel like I have a grasp on some of the supports, but outside of that, we're really looking at stats. So, yeah, it's kind of all over the place. So we're just going to start at the top. The top four, and the reason why they're kind of not all on top of each other is these four players played very well during Champions Queue when all the world's players were here. And I think that matters a bit. Like, I know people say Champions Queue is useless in some aspects. It's not a good indicator of a lot, but I believe that these amateur players, the notion in Champions Queue is the amateur players stink. I don't want the amateur players on my team. The college players stink. I don't want them on my team either. But in the case of APA and Keel, and even Sword, because Sword was on 100 Thieves Next at the time, you have players, I believe 100 Thieves Next, maybe it was Academy. Regardless, you have players that did very, very well in Champions Queue against the best of the best in the world, including other North American players as well. So Sword is 20 years old, is a free agent. I believe they are a role swapped support. They used to play mid. 4.1 KDA, 58% win rate in Champions Queue. 40 games was my threshold for Champions Queue to include on this list. In the last split, and actually during Worlds, and whoever had the highest KDA. If you had an under 3 KDA, I didn't include it. So a 3.3 KDA in North American Academy. So yeah, he was on 100 Thieves Academy team. 74.2 KP, 5 champions in 6 games. Only played those 6 games in Academy. Busio playing the other ones, and we'll get into Busio, who I am very high on. But I believe Sword is a quality player and should be getting a spot on another Academy roster because there is potential there. I really do think so. 20 years old, there still is a lot to do work with, especially given that they are role swapped. APA, otherwise known as Always Plan Ahead. I remember when they played with Tyler One early on. Not early on, but one of the Twitch rivals. A player that has really cemented themselves in Maryville University, I believe, and now is reportedly going to play for Team Liquid Academy. Doing very well throughout their scrims to earn that spot behind Harry. So really it's going to be a real interesting situation because you have a very inexperienced player at the top level, and then you have a very inexperienced player at the bottom level, and both are pretty young. Harry probably 23, 24 years old. So they kind of are what they are, but APA still has a little bit of growth to do. 3.4 KDA, 61% win rate in Champions Queue. In qualifiers, 4.95 KDA, 829 CS per minute, 74.4 KP. If you don't watch my content often, how I feel about that, you're giving up farm to get something going. 3 out of every 4 kills APA is involved in. That means they are getting around the rift, making things happen, and giving up some farm, playing a more facilitator role. There is something to be said for that, but at the same time, you'd like those numbers to start to even out where you have above 8.5, especially at a lower level of play, to earn yourself a promotion, which they have from college to academy. You'd like those numbers to be better, that they dominated at the amateur level. 32-3 kill share is dominant in the mid lane. 22-7 gold share, 5 champions in 7 games. Obviously, these are all small sample sizes. I tried to pick the highest level of play with over a handful of games to cite here. 32-3 kill share, though, is incredible. Really carried in team fights, getting kills, and executing. Busio, I probably would consider one of the more interesting players on this list. 100 Thieves did a very good job signing them, and Busio has impressed. Now, reportedly, going to be the starting support for 100 Thieves in the LCS. I believe that they won the Academy MVP or Finals MVP, one or the other. And I really, really like what I see in Champions Queue. I like the open-mindedness at support. I like the champion pool being all over the place. A lot of Zoe, which was really eccentric. Only 19 years old, 33 KDA, 55 KP. 455 KDA, 70.8 KP, 13 champions in 30 games in the Academy League. A very, very talented player. There is a bright future here. I think that anybody that denies that either isn't willing to give NA a chance in hell, or is just hasn't seen them play, or don't really just frankly doesn't give NA a fair shot. Resident player that I think, I don't expect 100 Thieves to do great, but I think Busio, this is going to be a real interesting situation for him to learn from Doublelift and Bjerg. I think that might be really, really interesting. The next player, Keel. Keel, so first, before I even looked at Champions Queue, I looked at the circuit qualifiers and the players that played over 5 games, looked at their stats, and kind of made a little bit of a algorithm ranking situation to figure out who might be, the first couple people on the list. Not only that, though, it kind of came down to who even farms well, who even gets into fights, really basic stuff. And Keel showed on Area of Effect a lot of propensity to carry, like the carry in the jungle. 3.1 KDA, only 21 years old, 54 win rate in Champions Queue against the best of the best. A 263 KDA, 646 CS per minute in 13 games in the circuit qualifier. That's a big deal. 646 is extremely high, especially when you think about 71.1 KP. So over 70 KP, so 7 out of every 10 kills, they are involved in. They're also farming at 6.46, which is 1 or 1.5 higher than a lot of, majority of support junglers. So I don't really know why this player didn't get a hookup from an Academy roster. I don't know why they didn't get even one of the 3rd-tier amateur rosters for one of these teams. I know that they have been on CLG in the past. They have had opportunities with LCS rosters, so maybe that, not LCS rosters, but LCS orgs. So maybe that is, people don't want to give them another look. But I think these numbers are outstanding. It just is a matter of figuring out what they want to do. Now we have a few top laners. A lot of young. Top lane is probably the deepest role in North America right now when it comes to prospects. A lot of young kids up there that are really talented and cracked. And people are going to say, oh, well, when they go against Zeus, that's irrelevant. I don't care what. I'm not talking about worlds. I'm talking about just regionally. I'm happy to see that we have maybe 4 players here that we could see going forward in the top lane in North America and not have to waste import slots on top lane necessarily. Facial for EG Prodigies, age is not listed on Leaguepedia. Maybe under 18 years old. With EG and 100 Thieves, could even be under 16 years old, to be honest with you. 5.8 KDA, 8.7 CS per minute, 54 KP, 32.9 kill share, 24-4 gold share, 4 champions in 9 games. Yes, those are absolutely cracked numbers in the top lane. To have an 8.7 CS per minute, I believe they played 4 Olaf games. A very talented player that should be getting a look from somebody. EG should bring him back, do whatever they want to do. This player is very, very good. At least looking at these numbers, I would definitely be looking at him over older players. That people are signing older players, and you need to focus on amateur kids here. And you look at a team like Golden Guardians that said, okay, well, we're going to go with a bunch of rookies, and then we're going to have our academy team. And I think they might be going we'll get into that, but one of their players is on this list. But I don't, you should invest even more into the younger players. if you're going all veterans, to then go and insert some young players in there. I think these top laners should be getting a look over players like Licorice, even Dignitas with Armut and Hoon. Zamudo, a free agent right now. After spring, or even during spring maybe, I had a video where I went over the top prospects in North America at the time. It was 2 in each role. Zamudo was on that list. Zamudo has turned out to be very good, played very well during Champions Queue. 18 years old, now a 1.7 KDA in Champions Queue, a 45 win rate. So you're going to say, what does that mean that you did well? There are many clips out there of Zamudo doing great in the top lane in Champions Queue. Doing, solo kills, outplaying world-class top laners, which is a big deal. Only at 18 years old, refine their game, get better. That's a big deal. 3 KDA, 826 CS per minute, 54 KP, 19 kill share, 23-2 gold share, 6 champions in 10 games in circuit qualifiers. That is at the same level that I have Fajol's numbers, Dragoons, and Snipers. So all 4 of them similar level of competition that we're citing here. 826 and a 54 KP, that's good. That's more than good. If you're getting over 8 in top lane, you're in a good spot. Usually you're giving up some KP, so that's why he's at 54 instead of like 60 that we were used to during summer. And then in that case, not many players were even over 8 because they were giving, they're playing more tanks and more of a facilitator role, kind of giving farm away to AD carry and mid and saying, screw it, I don't want the farm. I can't do anything with it anyways. I am not strong enough. I am just a Sejuani or an Ornn or whatever, a Gnar, you know what I'm saying? So for him to put numbers up like that, you see a lot of these kids were playing Gangplank and Gnar, and Gnar can go both ways, I guess. Fiora, a lot of interesting players. Dragoon played a little bit more tanky. 20 years old, 2.3 KDA, 49 win rate in Champions Queue, 463 KDA. 799 CS per minute, 55 KP, 25 kill share, 23-1 gold share, 6 champions, or maybe that's 4 champions in 8 games. Quite a few tank games in there. Ornn, Malphite, which is good. You need those players too. You need players to kind of play weak side. If they can play weak side very well, that's a good thing. Obviously, getting a lot of kills to make up for the 799 number, which results in the 23 gold share. But at 20 years old, being able to go 49 win rate in Champions Queue, a very good player that currently is on Cincinnati Fear, or at least was on Cincinnati Fear last year. We'll see if he stays in amateur or not. I imagine he will. With so many top laners, it is going to be an issue. Sniper with 100 Thieves, now 100 Thieves Academy, I believe. 16 years old, Viper's brother, if I recall correctly. So a player that has been touted for a while. Also a player that played with Tyler 1 in Twitch Rivals. And really that was their coming out party. Very young kid putting in work in top lane and is confident. And there's a lot of pressure there. But it will be interesting, especially with tenacity ahead of him. So 2 young players on that 100 Thieves roster in the top lane. There is no veteran presence up there. 297 KDA, 935 CS per minute, 50.5 KP, 21-4 kill share, 24 gold share, 6 champions in 12 games. Did not play a lot of Champions Queue in this last bit here during Worlds, which is unfortunate. Would have liked to see how he stacked up against Worlds talent, but he didn't play. Mind you, there's a possibility he didn't play because he wasn't allowed to. You got to keep in mind that not everybody was allowed to. Not everybody can play Champions Queue. But at the same time, 50.5 KP is extremely low, right? We're looking at a guy that's really split pushing. In a meta, that split pushing was not a thing. Now, 935 CS per minute makes up for that in spades. At the circuit qualifiers, I believe Sniper may have had the most farm out of anybody, or top 2 or 3. There are no 80 carries on this list for a reason. No 80 carries. Stats screamed anything at me outside of, oh my god, the 80 carry role is awful in amateur right now. No offense. That's what the stats say. I don't watch them play. Maybe they're playing so much Senna that's just diluting their stats to oblivion. But nobody is even getting 9 CS per minute. So if you can't even like farm against amateur players, how are you going to farm against academy players? How are you going to farm against pros in North America, let alone at the highest level, right? You need to step it up. And the problem is that a lot of those 80 carries are not young anymore, which is a thing. But Sniper, 9.35 CS per minute is absolutely cracked. The kid gets ahead. He gets ahead, and that's scary in and of itself. City Witty, Taco Gaming, do not know his age. 335 KDA, 655 CS per minute, 69 KP, 17.3 kill share, 20.1 gold share, 9 champions in 16 games. A jungler that I believe may be role swapping to support with one of the academy teams, maybe Golden Guardians or TL. Don't quote me. Not going to be 100% certain on who it is, but I believe they have locked down a spot somewhere at support. Maybe it's not even an academy team. Maybe it's an amateur team that I saw on my Twitter. Nevertheless, role swapping. Maybe a player that doesn't need to. 655 KDA is, 655 CS per minute. A very, very carry-oriented player that did their job at the circuit qualifiers. Looking at this list, there are a lot of top laners and a lot of supports. Those seem to be the 2 deepest roles in North America. So that is a thing. Now, Young has been signed to Golden Guardians Academy, so they have been promoted. Age is unknown. 333 KDA, 821 CS per minute, 60 KP, 28 kill share, 22-1 gold share, 5 champions in 10 games. In those 10 games, I wouldn't say they quite earned themselves a promo, but they got one. 821 CS per minute is not good in the mid lane. You want 8.5 or higher. Obviously, we're splitting hairs here on only 0.29 KDA CS, but the issue is you have 60 KP. So you look at a player, you compare Young and APA's numbers, and you have a situation where they're farming the same, but APA is involved in more of the action. So what is Young's excuse? People are going to say, oh, well, they're fighting away from them. Yes, okay, they're fighting away from them, but what are they doing then if they're not in the fight? They should be farming. They should be getting pressure. Obviously, pressure is not measured here. I wish we had a stat for that. Maybe if I have enough time during summer, I can actually make spring. I can make one up. But at the same time, right now we don't. So all we have is this. A player that's been promoted. Like I said, Golden Guardians, probably getting younger players is a good idea. But at the same time, it's not like mid lane was deep. Young was one of the 2 players that I looked at stat-wise that was, the best of what there was. So that is what it is. That's it for this video, going over the top amateur players, at least statistically, that I've come across in North America. I can't promise you when the next one will come out for Europe, Korea, or China, but they will come out before the off season's over. These are filler videos for people. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube member, and thank you for watching.